The fuck?
Dre.
More importantly, this informant claimed that he had personally seen Orlando Anderson and DeAndre Smith in the white Cadillac in Compton the day after Tupac was shot, and that DeAndre, not Orlando, had bragged about shooting Tupac.
Dre and Orlando, they came back bragging about what happened out there. He seen Tupac and Big Suge, I think, in a BMW, and he said he let off on him.
Man, I let off on Tupac.
Dre said he himself. And he said he let off on him.
Man, I let off on Tupac.
Dre said he himself let off on him. What does let off on him mean? He's shooting a person. Like it was a big old joke or something.
Go and see what Keefe D first said to the people, bruh. Keefe D said he handed Dre the gun. And Dre said, nah, man. You understand what I'm saying? Because Dre was alive then. Dre was alive. Everybody was alive then when Keefe D gave that statement. Everybody was alive except Orlando. So he had to put it on Orlando.
Facts.
Because you put...
And he said he let off on him.
Man, I let off on Tupac.
Dre said he himself let off on him. What does let off on him mean? He's shooting a person.
With the full knowledge of Keefe, do they have it right?
There was only two people in the car. And Pac not finna tell the story. I ain't finna tell the story, but I tell you this. I never had nothing bad to say about Orlando because, number one, he wasn't a shooter. Number two, he came to my hearing and told to let me go and tell the truth. They still don't.
Then who shot Tupac?
It wasn't Anderson, so that's all I got to say about that. At the end of the day, free Keefe D.
Suge Knight taps in, y'all, as y'all heard. He says Baby Lane is not the killer, is not the shooter. Now, you have a grand jury that, some transcripts was actually revealed today where you have a witness from the Southside Compton Crips, y'all. His name is Devontae Lee. And he's on paperwork saying Big Dre was the shooter, y'all. So he's the dude that's actually, jammed up Keefe D, his homeboy from the same hood. He's the one that they using as a witness. But we gonna read this article right here, y'all. Check it out.
Oh.
So the article goes on to say, despite the long-held belief that a deceased gang member named Orlando Anderson was the man who shot rapper Tupac Shakur in '96, leading to his death, information from a Clark County grand jury transcript says otherwise. According to documents obtained by Channel 13, a man affiliated with the Southside Compton Crips, Devontae Lee, says it was another Southside Crip, DeAndre Big Dre Smith, who pulled the trigger. Anderson and Smith were in a white Cadillac with Terrence Brown and Dwayne Keefe D. Davis the night of the shooting. It's not refuted that the white Cadillac pulled up to a BMW driven by Suge with Shakur in the passenger seat, but conventional wisdom has long been that Anderson shot into the BMW. In his statements to a grand jury over the indictment of Davis in the murder plot, Lee, which is the witness, y'all, the informant from Southside Compton Crips, says it was Smith who fired the shots. When before the grand jury, Lee was asked if it was true that Smith told him that Davis passed a gun to Keefe D. So y'all heard Keefe D before get on the interview, in the Death Row Chronicles documentary, saying how, he gave the gun to somebody in the back seat, and he said also in another interview how he gave the gun to Orlando Anderson, in his profit agreement with Greg Kading, on the documentary Murder Rap, and that was when he said he had passed the gun to his nephew who shot Tupac. So he's...
But you gotta think about it though, feel me? Imagine you in a car with 4 people though. Even if your man's got jumped right here, you gonna let him basically lean over you to go shoot? Nah, bro, give me the gun. I got you. Feel me? You my mans. I got you. Feel me? I'ma shoot. It only makes sense. It only makes sense. It's easy. Right here. Bang, bang. Feel me?
Being asked this question, Devontae Lee, the snitch in this case, the informant, on this murder trial by Keefe D getting arrested, is saying he was asked that is it true that Smith told him that Davis passed the gun to Orlando Anderson? That's exactly what he told me. So what's the question, y'all? The question was, Lee was asked if it was true that DeAndre Big Dre Smith told him that Davis passed the gun to Anderson.
It only makes sense.
Now look at his response, y'all. It's going to get interesting because he's going to say how, it went down. So he goes on to say, That's exactly what he told me, Lee said. As the Cadillac approached the BMW, however, Lee indicated that Anderson didn't have a clear shot at Shakur, at Tupac, so Smith offered to take the gun. Dre said, he's on my side. Basically, I'll do it. Dre said,
bro, I was just let me run it back, bro. I'm telling you, bro, let me do it. Why would I let you hop over me, bro? I got you, Brody.
Take the gun. Dre said, he's on my side. Basically, I'll do it. Dre said, give me the pistol. Lee indicated that the shooting was in retaliation for a fight that happened earlier at the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas. In that altercation, members of Tupac's crew and security team punched and kicked Anderson in the lobby of the hotel. Little did any know that this is the incident that would ultimately lead to the retaliation shooting and death of Tupac Shakur.
It only makes sense, bro.
Let's go over that one more time, y'all, because this is new information, man. Nobody ever heard this before. So it goes on to say that pretty much, you know, Baby Lane was given the gun, but he didn't have a clear shot. So the informant, Devontae Lee, is saying Big Dre told him that Baby Lane, you know, was the one that was supposed to have shot Tupac, but he didn't have a clear shot. So Lee says, Big Dre. Dre said, he's on my side. Basically, I'll do it. Dre said, give me the pistol. As y'all know, you know, Big Dre was the dude who was on the window seat at the back seat, so he had the best shot.
I would detail Big Dre from Southside Compton Crip. Dre will be born DeAndre Smith and grow up in Compton, California. Dre will always be a big dude, standing around 6'5" or 6'6". He played multiple sports in high school, being good in basketball, and a good football player as well. During this time period, Dre will become a part of the Southside Compton Crips. Now the Southside Compton Crips, they would be established over 40 years ago and would later become a major factor among several Crip gangs in the city of Compton. They had many Crip gangs and several rival Paru sets. By the 80s, the Southside Crips would become major players in the drug trade and had many members seeing hundreds of thousands and some seeing millions. They were also known for being killers. Dre would be in the mix of many of both and had his name tied to a lot in the streets. Dre would grow up around many reputable Southside Crips, some being names like Orlando Anderson, who was known as a drug dealer and also a killer. The Southside Crips will be at war with several Pirus, and this will lead to a war in Compton between the Southside Crips and all the Pirus affiliated with Death Row Records. Orlando will be frontlining that beef and was even trying to take Death Row chains off Pirus. September 7, 1996, the Southside Crips, including Orlando, his uncle Keefe D, T Brown, and Big Dre were all in Vegas. But that same night, the whole Death Row Records were there as well. They will all be there for a Mike Tyson fight. Orlando would end up running into Death Row, and they would jump him. Later that night, Orlando would want revenge. So later that night, Orlando, Keefe D, T Brown, and Big Dre would go out looking for Death Row and anybody involved with the Pirus. The Southside Crips would get a weapon from a man named Zip, but Keefe D would later say that Big Dre didn't want to do the shooting. But this will later lead to Suge Knight and Tupac being shot, and Tupac losing his life. Speculation will always say that Orlando killed Tupac, but a lot of people would say it was Big Dre. Orlando and Big Dre being the only ones in the back seat, the shooting had to only come from them two. This will later lead to back and forth shootings in Compton, and Orlando and Big Dre and the rest of the Southside Crips were investigated for killing Tupac. Dre and Orlando were also being looked at for several other shootings, leading to a few people's deaths. By 1998, Orlando will be shot and killed in an unrelated incident after he had a shootout with another Crip. Big Dre will be free from all charges, stemming from any murders or anything he was involved in.
How?
Dre will continue to sell drugs and be active in the Southside Crip.
That's weird. If there's only two people in the back seat, right? Oh, that's crazy. How the fuck everything get cleared, bro? There's only two people in the back seat. One nigga died and you still alive. Why you didn't go to jail?
Crips, but he would start moving to different avenues and make a record label called Runoff Records. Few albums would come out on the record label, one being called Hard White, which featured several rappers. By the early 2000s, Big Dre's health would take a decline. It would be said with him being severely overweight. This would cause him to have a heart attack, ending his life early. After Dre's death, more and more speculation would come out, and people would try to say he actually did the shooting of Tupac. The biggest theory still to this day is that Orlando did the shooting.
Fake niggas, we don't do those. Fake niggas, we don't do those. Hardcore, weirdos, weird.